It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions.
Touchdown, San Diego!
Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego on a Monday, coming off a great sports weekend. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, the venerable John Riley, and we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects inside, projects outside. You want materials, think DIXIELINE Lumber. Looking for ideas? They can be your best friend and your consultant. I invite you to sample everything they have to offer. Just go to DIXIELINE.com. Build it, fix it, guarantee you will like it in 2025 going towards 2026 at DIXIELINE Lumber. John Riley, there are not enough hours in the day to cover everything that we're going to cover on this podcast today, but man, what we got the end of the baseball season, the beginning of the NFL season's kicked into gear. We got college football and got a bunch of other topics on the table too.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot going on. And why the hell did you show up wearing the same color shirt that I'm wearing?
My shirt looks better than your shirt. You violated the dress code.
I think your wife called my wife, or there's something going on behind the scenes.
And we will argue what shade of blue this is compared to his shade of blue and what that's supposed to represent. Hey, we're going a lot of different directions on this podcast. We hope you will stay with us because we do sports talk the way it should be done. Aside from the haters who don't like us, that's okay. We put topics on the table. We express opinions about those topics on the table, and then we flip it over to you. And we're looking for you to bring your A game. Don't be lame. John, we call it Fans Forum. How does that work?
It's your chance to get involved. You got to comment in the world of sports. Maybe you have some good Chargers, Raiders smack talk that you want to get off your chest. Now's a great chance. And by the way, I already see Matthew, XX Revolution, Michael, and Mike already in the house. So, just get on board. Go to our live stream in the chat on YouTube, on X, or on Facebook. Just type in your comment or question. We'll get it to Hacksaw at the conclusion of Hacksaw's Headlines.
Fans Forum coming up right at the end of this podcast. We want you to be part of it. Couple of other items. If you like sports, you have to check my website today. I put an absolute ton of information up there in the best 15 minutes in sports. It's all written, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You got to read my one man's opinion column about what I think about what just went down at UCLA. Invite you to sample my website. That stuff is posted. It's there first thing every morning, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Follow me on social media. You get the chance to participate in Hacksaw's mini polls. Just go on X, type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button. That way you'll get the alerts there. Want you to share. Tell everybody who we are, what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Subscribe. When you subscribe on the YouTube channel, you will get the alerts. Ding, 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 ding. Every time we put additional videos up during the course of the week, and we do that quite often. So we're going a lot of different directions. John, let's hit the floor running because we got pennant race baseball importance with 2 weeks to go in the season.
Yeah, 2 weeks to go, and it's time. Let's talk Padres. Wins, losses, and lectures.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the different storylines with Padre baseball. Padres on their way at this hour to New York. Open a critical 3-game series against a desperate New York Mets team. The Padres have continued to beat up on the bad teams at baseball. The Padres are still one long Fernando Tatis throw from right field of being in first place, but they're not there yet. Of course, they're still 2.5 back of the first place Dodgers. The Mets have been hot. The Mets have been cold. The Mets are in real trouble. Mets have lost 8 of their last 9. The Mets have lost 12 of their last 15. The Mets have 3 raw rookies in the starting rotation. Mets have gone through 42 pitchers this season. They're without Senga, they're without Montes, they're without Griff Canning, and they've just demoted Sean Manaea. So that's one storyline. Can the Padres, who've been beating up on people, take out the New York Mets and use that to propel themselves into first place before the end of the week? Padres-Mets, massive series. Manny Machado. They rested him. Sat him Sunday, off Monday. That's 2 days off. He's not had that all season long. The guy's a baller. But the guy is hitting 197 since August 1st, and that's really deplorable, and his defense is not what his defense has been in the past. Congratulations to the Padres and Mike Shildt. They beat the Albuquerque Isotopes 3 out of 4 this past weekend. Who the hell are the Albuquerque Isotopes? They're the AAA club of the Colorado Rockies, the worst team in Major League Baseball. What's their record? 41-107?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So they brought everybody up from Albuquerque. That was in the lineup this weekend for the Colorado Rockies. So the Padres are feeling good about themselves because they beat the Albuquerque Isotopes. I grant you, you're going to face Soto, and you're going to face the Polar Bear, Peter Alonso, and you're going to face Lindor. You're going to face a really different batting order starting on Tuesday night. Which brings us to the manager. We have sat here and talked about Mike Shildt pushing the right buttons, talked about Mike Shildt, baseball IQ, talked about Mike Shildt getting his players to respond. Not everybody on social media is buying everything with Mike Shildt. Do you realize, since that great start, seems like a lifetime ago in March and April, when the Padres were 14-3, do you realize they're just 66 and 65 since that start? They're a freaking 500 team with one of the highest payrolls in all of Major League Baseball. And I have read words on social media like, he is stubborn, this guy's a control freak, this guy refuses to be tough on his players. They're not really happy. Now, at the end of the day, he's gotten kind of testy in recent weeks with the media. Nick Canepa, the lead columnist of the Union Tribune, who doesn't really cover much baseball, write much baseball, just went off on the Padres a week ago Sunday in his page 2 column saying this product is pathetic. Again, he's probably analyzing 66 and 65 since the great start with the payroll, with the 57% hike in tickets over 5 years' time. He said A.J. Preller moved all the pieces around the chessboard to make all these trades. Boom, great impact for the first 2 weeks. They haven't done anything since, including losing a bunch of games to bad teams, with the exception when they played the Albuquerque Isotopes. And then Shildt got into it with the media. Shildt started to lecture the media at the end of this homestand about, I have great belief in the potential of who we are. Yeah, that sounds great with 2 weeks to go in the season, with a team that's scuffling at 500 and has lost a pile of games to bad teams. I'm not buying it. I don't think other guys in the dugout standing there with me are buying it any longer in the media. And maybe this is the reason Mike Shildt got tossed at St. Louis despite an overall pretty good one-loss record. I don't know if it's accountability, lack of accountability, or he's just a hard ass, and he doesn't want to be questioned about any decision that he makes that doesn't work out. But his team is 66 and 65. So you'll have to tell me, give me some direction. You're a Padre fan. Amped about the New York Mets series? Are they in real trouble? Put up, shut up time? Can they be in first place by the end of this week? Let's talk all things Padres. And your evaluation of Mike Shildt, because he started to really act like a hard ass towards the media when they're just asking specific questions on behalf of the fans. John, the podium belongs to you.
You, broken your leg yet jumping on and off the Padre bandwagon?
I'm just telling you what I believe. And that could change day to day, week to week.
You were talking about Mike Shildt, baseball IQ. This guy's got everything going on. You know, he's running the clubhouse. He's great with strategy. You've given A.J. Preller the executive of the year.
Won the baseball trading deadline. Have they gone to the World Series yet?
No, they haven't. But
do you think 66 and 65 that qualifies them to be World Series?
But that's what the Dodgers have been since their hot start as well. I mean, so all these teams are just going through these roller coasters and just, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of frustration as a Padre fan. I get you. You know, the one game where, they lost to the Rockies, Tatis struck out 4 times, and it can be nerve-wracking. But, would I rather be the Padres, your buddy Chase Headley, that era? Do I want to be a Padre fan from the fire sale of Fred McGriff and Gary Sheffield? Do I want to be a Padre fan with Craig Lefferts and Mark Davis and, the 80s guys, Carmelo Martinez? This right now is the best era of all time for the Padres. And so just 3 out of 4 with the Rockies. Maybe it's starting to come together. And by the way, Manny definitely needed a day off. But you know, in the last game he played, had a home run and a single. But yeah, he's gassed.
It was the Albuquerque Isotopes. Please be correct.
You know, what's funny is like the only name in that lineup I recognize is Mickey Moniak.
Yeah.
You know, only because, you know, he's a San Diego kid and he played against my son in high school. But everybody else in that lineup, I have no idea. Apparently their catcher is really good. I think maybe he was
a good one.
Yeah, and I'm kind of only vaguely familiar with him. So yeah, I'll give you that. You know, but it's amazing that team has turned, the Rockies has turned into a AAA team. I mean, Chris Bryant is still on the payroll somewhere, right?
Yeah, probably career-ending back surgeries, plural.
But who else is like on the injured list?
Pitchers are gone. Every pitcher in the starting rotation has had this or this.
Or they've been traded. I mean, like, who was that kid? Gray?
John Gray.
He was a guy that was there a few years ago. Oh, they still have that Sentenzella guy. Mm-hmm. You know, but
he's post-surgery.
He is, and he's not. He's a shell of what he used to be.
Marquez is a shell of what he used to be post-surgery. Kyle Freeland, post-surgery. The whole thing is a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even have Kevin Newman on the team anymore. No. He's gone. What a mess.
I concur. So at the end of the day, are you just going to apologize for everything over there? Or, I mean, do you want to take a stance? What is this 3-game series against the Mets going to be like? Are they going to be in first place by Thursday morning?
Well, I mean, they're like, 2.5 back right now, right? I mean, so you'd have to win all 3, and the Dodgers have to lose 3. And that's probably not going to happen by, Wednesday or Thursday. But, they're still, I think 4 games behind the Cubs for the number 4 spot. You'd love to get there. That guarantees you a home game. But right now, it seems like they're in a sort of kind of comfortable number 5 spot because they got 4 games buffer on either side of them. So, I mean, they need to take care of business with the Mets. The Mets are slumping, so you just got to, wipe the table with these guys back at their home field. But, it's not going to be a cakewalk. And by the way, isn't one of those rookie pitchers for the Mets? I remember seeing a headline about him. He was actually had some hot starts.
Yeah, he did. The other 2 got their brains blown out. It's tough. Mets, nice payroll. They've lost 8 of their last 9 with this payroll, led by you-know-who, Mr. Myself, and I.
Juan Soto. And then meanwhile, the Giants they're like right there, aren't they? I think they were like tied with the Mets at one point over the weekend for the number 6 spot.
So what's going to happen by Thursday? Are you going to evade the question? I mean, should I just go to the fans forum chat box and ask somebody there to stand in for this guy wearing the faded blue shirt? Tell me.
I'm a Padre fan, okay? Right. And I'm every day living it, okay? The ups and the downs, and then sometimes I got to chill a little bit and just kind of, minimize the peaks and valleys emotionally. But yeah, I mean, they got to get their crap together. I mean, this is do or die time. Here we go.
2 weeks to go in the season. You tell them to get their crap together.
Well, I've been saying it all year, but you get a little patience. But now here we are, a couple of weeks away from the playoffs, and you got to be trajectory going up.
But they're not playing the Albuquerque Isotopes any longer.
Well, then they're going to play the Mets, and let's just hypothetically say the Padres win 2 or 3 in the Mets series. You're going to say, well, it's the Mets. They've been lost like 8 of their last 9. You're the Debbie Downer.
Wouldn't it be unbelievable if they've got 4 series left, okay? Wouldn't it be unbelievable if Soto haunted them in this series and they go from Citi Field, New York to old Comiskey Park, Chicago, and Will Venable, who they snubbed to interview for manager, the White Sox screw them up too? Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be so San Diego.
Oh, jeez.
Apologies to Fox 5, man. But that would be Padres curse, San Diego sports curse.
All right, fans forum chat box is open. Feel free to express an opinion. You're happy. They beat the Albuquerque Isotopes 3 out of 4. You're in first place almost. What do you think? Padres Mets? What do you think about SHILDT? And the social media is just, I think, has been grossly unfair. But at the end of the day, they are 66 and 65, so I guess some of that criticism should be pointed and directed at him. We go from that team to the other team that takes up enormous amount of interest here on this podcast.
Yeah, the LA Dodgers, and just as a quick aside, I saw in the fans forum, Arnie was saying no sound, but it's showing that our sound is on, right? So if there's no sound, let us know. But anyways, Dodgers, believe in the blue.
Do you believe in the blue? I mean, here we go. They got their own set of circumstances starting tonight. They tangle with the Philadelphia Phillies. This is a critical 3-game series. And the Dodgers have a tougher schedule than anybody because they got 4 with San Francisco, which is churning, trying to claw their way into this last wild card spot. And they got to finish up in Seattle, which is in a war for first place in their division. So the Dodgers have a much tougher schedule.
Dodgers.
And a burning question. Dave Roberts, call to the bullpen? For who? Who can you trust in the bullpen? Big issue there. Another issue. Will Smith has re-aggravated the bad bruise on his hand. Disabled list. He's gone for 10 days. Big setback. They got a third-string catcher and a raw rookie fourth-string catcher. So the Dodgers have got some problems there. A lot of dialogue. Second in-house discussion. Should they take Ohtani and spend the last 2 weeks of the season letting him get used to the idea he'll be a one-inning relief specialist, a closer? They've had 2 conversations since a week ago Wednesday. Might this happen? The other conversation, and this makes no sense to me at all, there is conversation about letting Roki Sasaki work strictly out of the bullpen in his final rehab appearances, 1 inning each at Oklahoma City. That sounds good because he wouldn't be throwing a wide variety of pitches. He's had real problems controlling pitchers 3, 4, and 5. He'd just do his top 2. Problem is he's got a 6.25 ERA at Oak City. You're going to entrust him to maybe be a part-time closer with the Dodgers in the pennant race or in postseason play? So the Dodgers are having all kinds of weird dialogue about that. Now, they do have everybody else back healthy. Everybody is off the disabled list. Tommy Edmonds come back, won a game for him again on the weekend. Max Muncy's back, but he's not hitting. I don't know if you see him get plunked in the head.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Holy cow. Thought he had a concussion. He went down like a sack of potatoes.
Oh, man.
Luckily, it was not serious. And all the pitchers are back, but you're going to give the ball to one of these relievers? You got to be kidding me. The Dodgers got some issues. There's a sidebar Dodger story that just broke within the hour. We talked 2 weeks ago about the big lawsuit with 2 developers on the island of Hawaii who are suing Ohtani and his agent, Nez Balelo, saying that they led a power drive to get 2 guys evicted who were founders of this luxury resort thing. Today, Ohtani and Balelo filed a counter lawsuit against the 2 developers who were expelled from the project, saying they have data and information for the 2 developers who lured Ohtani into this to be a backer of this big Hawaiian $7 million per house plantations on the island, the Big Island. They say they have data that those 2 developers set up a website and were using Ohtani's name, likeness, and image as if he were a spokesman for a different development in addition to the one on the Big Island. So they've gone to court and they're suing these guys, saying they have now evidence that they were illegally using Ohtani's image in addition to what happened on the Big Island to create another set of luxury homes somewhere else in the Pacific Rim with Ohtani as the front man without Ohtani's approval.
Wow.
So these stories are deep. There's always different angles to the stories. That's the latest with Ohtani. So go ahead. You tell me what we're doing in the bullpen with the Dodgers. Should we just snip the lines so Dave Roberts can't make a call to the bullpen? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Roki Sasaki closer idea, I mean, that could be like a secret weapon, because he looked good and he had his moments before he, went on the injured list, when he was pitching in the first few months.
But he's not getting anybody out at Oak City. He's got a 6.25 ERA.
But wasn't he really good, like just recently, though?
Yeah, he had one and a half decent outings.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously that's a tiny sample size, but I'm just saying, if they have the ability to reach into their back pocket and pull a Sasaki out and roll him out as a closer, I mean, that would be a Dodger thing, where they have this secret weapon and they just roll out. Because logistically, having Ohtani, close and hit and got to warm up in the bullpen, that's just too weird. But I need to tell you this story. It's all aligned with a lot of the things that you talked about. So, like, over 30 years ago, I used to work for this software company. It was a Japanese software company. And we used to convert, like, American software into Japanese and sell it in Japan. And so I've all these Japanese native Japanese people that I was very close friends with, one guy in particular, and he came to the United States this past week specifically to go to Dodger Stadium for the Dodger bobblehead night.
The first time I'd ever been there?
He had never been to Dodger Stadium, but he lived here in San Diego for 7 years. So this when in the early and mid 90s when I was working with him.
He wanted the Ohtani experience.
Oh, the whole thing. And see, and one of his daughters is a Dodger nut, and she's in her early 20s. So the two of them came out. And I spent the whole day with him Thursday. On Wednesday night, they were at Dodger Stadium, and just hearing everything from him. And his English is good, but not great. But we're able to speak the language of baseball, which makes it great. But anyways, Ohtani is. I mean, everything you said about Ohtani in Japan, being big in Japan.
Bigger.
It's bigger in real life, okay? And my buddy confirmed that, and he's just everywhere. And so that's why he wanted to come out. And it was funny that talking to him, he doesn't watch Japanese baseball anymore. He only watches American baseball.
When Ohtani's on.
Yeah, but even following other teams. And so it always comes on at 11 in the morning when it's, 7 at night for us. And he just sets it up next to his desk. He's got the game streaming the whole time. And so he really follows in detail what's going on with the Dodgers. And we were commiserating over dinner, and he is just saying, Tanner Scott, he was just ranting about how awful Tanner Scott has been, in the bullpen and just pulling their hair out. Then meanwhile, his daughter, who didn't speak a lick of English, is there with my wife and I for dinner. It's just wonderful, great family. But she was just in love with Will Smith. I mean, it was, and she had on her backpack a Will Smith picture that was sort of in this little piece of luggage accessory, and I had to break the bad news to her about Sid from the movie Toy Story, who a lot of American fans have sort of made fun of Will Smith because he kind of looks like Sid from the first Toy Story movie. She had never heard of such a comparison, and I was showing her pictures on the internet of two people.
Her night.
Oh, and yeah, but we were all laughing about it and enjoying it, and it was just a neat thing where here's a friend, I hadn't seen him in 30 years, but we're able to talk about, with his limited English and her zero English, we were able to talk about the Dodgers and Ohtani, and we talked a little bit about Ippei Mizuhara and a little bit about the real estate shenanigans on the Big Island in Hawaii, which you were just reporting on. And so it was just a great week, to be able to have, and this is the beauty of sports, it brings people together.
The language of baseball.
Totally. So it was a great experience. It was a fun story, and I just had to share it.
Okay. Get back to the original question. So we talked about who could ruin the Padres' final 2 weeks of the season, Soto or Will Venable.
Oh, yeah.
Who could ruin the Dodgers' final 2 weeks?
Are they playing Gavin Lux and the Reds?
The Giants.
Oh, well, definitely the Giants. They would Giant fan would like nothing more than to knock the Dodgers out of first place or even out of the playoffs.
Okay, so you got an opinion here? Feel free, jump on board. I happen to think my Dodger Blue jersey is better than his Dodger Blue shirt, but feel free. Hop on board. Fans Forum chat box is open for Dodger fans to counteract Padre fans who probably got a lot of things to say. Third team we're going to cover and ask some really pointed questions here about the Halos that have gone to hell.
The Halos that have gone to hell. That's a great headline.
This is unbelievable. They lost 99 last season. They could lose 99 this year if there were enough games to play, but there's not. They're 69-81. Their pitching has collapsed. Their bullpen has faded. The cornerstone of all their lineup of young players have had flashes that have played well. They're all hurt. And this is just a miserable end of the season. And it's a burning question about Mike Trout. Mike Trout is really defiant that he will regain all the specialness that made him maybe a Hall of Fame player. And he doesn't want to leave. He's got one home run in 130 plate appearances and is hitting .231. He's just, right now, sadly, he appears to be a shell of himself, and there's no protection in the batting order because Neto is hurt, Ohapi is gone, Chanel's been on the disabled list. They've not really gotten fair value out of some of their other free agent acquisitions. Joe Adell's had a mystical season, 30-plus home runs, but that's really been about it. Taylor Ward's disappeared since the All-Star break. Angels are just a disaster. So it begs the question, should Artie Moreno go to Mike Trout and say, I'd like to move you? Waive your no-trade clause. We'll try to put you on a pennant-winning team that would benefit us at the same time by getting a load of players in return. Because this Mike Trout does not look like Mike Trout any longer. 1 home run in 130 plate appearances. And again, he's had to DH because they're so fearful of the injury factor in the outfield. So virtually every free agent rental they tried, from Kikuchi, who you and I both thought that's a pretty decent starter, to Kyle Hendricks, who once upon a time was a good starter, even to Kenley Jansen, who's kind of tailed off the second half, has failed.
Yoan Wakata?
Yeah, he's been on the disabled list an awful lot. So, I mean, nothing has worked at all. And they got one bargaining chip, and it's Mike Trout. Would you dare do that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, first of all, it's just kind of weird how the Padre-Dodger thing is so hot, and the Angel situation is almost like this forgotten,
off the radar.
Totally. And we'll report on the Angels, and it's usually not, it's Tyler Skaggs or it's some other kind of negative news. Now, maybe for the longest time, Trout didn't want to be traded. He liked the Angels. He wanted to be loyal to the team and the fan base, but it's time to move on. It's time to turn the page. And so hopefully Trout can see it in himself that a change of scenery would be good for his career, but kind of replenishing the farm system for the Angels would be good for Angel fan. Because it's not like Trout is going to take the Angels to the World Series next year or the year after that. He needs to go somewhere where he can be like the veteran that's going to add in, and it's going to coalesce the whole clubhouse, bring the young guys, the old guys together. Trout could be that guy,
and surrounded by guys in the batting order.
Yeah, exactly. So I know he's a huge Philly Eagle fan, so I'm sure he'd love to finish his career in Philadelphia.
He's
a
Jersey guy.
Yeah, well, it's right across the river, right? Isn't it? Yep. From Philly? So it would make sense for him to play on the East Coast, but he has to first say, hey, if I give a green light on giving up my no-trade clause, it's actually a win-win-win. Mike Trout wins, Angel fan wins, and wherever he goes, they win too.
I concur. Angel fans, you're out there, feel free. We talk a ton of baseball on this podcast. We're going to talk NFL football now. Fans Forum chat box is open. We're hitting a lot of hot buttons here with what we've already discussed, Padres, Dodgers, Angels. We want you to respond. NFL football, Monday Night Football. Damn, I love history, and history doesn't get much deeper than this game tonight.
Yeah, well, Chargers-Raiders, a rivalry, they always have a Chargers-Raiders on Monday night. Seems like every season. Okay,
now we're not talking about the dusty, dented Super Bowl trophies in the back of John's closet from 50 years ago or Al Davis. We're talking modern-day football. I'm going to throw at you some questions. You tell me, what do you think is the most important key to the game? Is it the dynamics of Pete Carroll and his energy versus the dynamics and the energy and the persona of Jim Harbaugh? Or is it Max Crosby coming off the line of scrimmage against the Chargers' backup right tackle and the great unknown they have at right guard? Is it a really weakened back seven defensively for the Raiders? And how the hell are they going to cover McConkey and Keenan Allen, the kid receivers, the two tight ends coming off the line of scrimmage? Is it Ashton Genty pounding the football behind that offensive line, which hasn't run block for him yet in the first group of games of the season? Or is it just a throwing contest? That's Justin Herbert, that's Geno Smith, both going to throw for over 300. Last guy touches the ball might win. And can you believe by tomorrow morning, one of these teams is going to be in first place in the AFC West?
Hey.
Somebody's going to be unbeaten. Now, side note, at noon today, Chargers put starting inside linebacker Denzel Perryman injured reserve, high ankle sprain. Within an hour, they updated the medical report. Dion Henley, the do-everything linebacker, we're zero. He's all over the field.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a viral infection. They don't know whether he's going to play. So suddenly, their inside defenders at linebacker might not play. So huge storylines going here. So what's the biggest story? Is it the coaches? Is it the throwing contest of the quarterbacks? Is it the pass rush guys? Is it Genty versus the Charger defensive front? running behind a bad offensive line? What do you think is the most important thing?
Well, it's definitely the coaches, in my opinion. I mean, we have talked so much about the Chargers, because of your legacy with the team, and they're a SoCal team. And we talk about Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh and, Quentin Johnson, all these guys, Joey Bosa when he was here. But in my opinion, this is really starts with the Raiders, because this is their home opener in Vegas, right? And then this is the debut of Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll has all the energy and the leadership qualities completely change the vibe in that clubhouse. Now, if you were to go player-by-player comparison, on paper, the Chargers probably have more talent than the Raiders. I mean, although the Raiders are greatly improved.
On the offensive side.
Yeah, for sure. But this really is, can Pete Carroll galvanize the team? Can Las Vegas fill that arena, fill that stadium and create this Raider Nation energy? Can they recreate that vibe? And if they can, I think the Raiders might have another one of those, 61-7, that game they had a couple of years ago?
At one point, it was 63-7. That was the night before they all got fired at Boltville.
Yeah, I mean, that was a shakedown. So we might have like this run that the Raiders could go on, if the stars align. But, I'd imagine the Chargers are a Vegas favorite, right? It's probably like, a 3 or a 4 point spread? Yep. Yeah.
But I think both offenses vibrant. Geno Smith threw for 362 last week.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see this. Charger fan, show me your lightning bolt. Raider Nation, leave your gun at the door. Got a stolen cell phone and a stolen car? Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. Want to hear what you've got to say.
Social media was ripping you on, especially from Raider Nation. They're like, because on one of the commentaries, those little 1 minute vertical videos we've done, people are like, take that man's microphone away, geriatric, and they probably don't understand your history of this rivalry and everything that goes into it.
Thanks for following, sucker. But
Raider fan is delusional. They think they're probably going to win this one handily. They think they're a lot better than they're getting credit for.
I love your assessment, Pete Carroll's persona and Harbaugh's will. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Charger Raider fans, jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. What a day. What a weekend in the National Football League. And, boy, we got surprises, and we got some blowouts and some bad beatings.
Bad beatings.
Okay, let's start. Eagles, 20-17 over Kansas City. I said a week ago, I took a lot of hits on social media. I said the era's over in Kansas City. AFC West champs are gone. Now they're 0-2. And they still got 2 more really tough games to play. Eagles did it with their defense. 4th down stop, critical pass interception on a deflected pass off Travis Kelce. They held Mahomes to 187 yards passing. Kansas City right now is Mahomes against the world because he's not getting much help. Jalen Hurts was held to 101 yards passing. Barkley had 88 yards running the football. But the Eagles have Andy Reid's number. The Eagles have beaten them 3 in a row. Philadelphia, by the way, has won 17 of their last 18 games. This is Kansas City's worst start under Andy Reid since 2010. The Chiefs are 0-2. Last place, baby. So, big storyline there, Eagles. Denver. Holy cow, how did this happen? They lose to Indianapolis on the final kick of the game, 29-26. Daniel Jones, new quarterback. Probably going to elect him mayor, maybe even governor. Daniel Jones goes crazy, throws for 316.
Wow, good for him.
Running back Jonathan Taylor, 165 on the ground. Bo Nix threw for 206 and 3 touchdowns, but the defense could not get off the field. And get this, the end of the game, I thought Denver had it locked. Indianapolis tried a 60-yard field goal after a timeout. Missed it. Penalty flag. Illegal leverage play by the defensive line. When you're in your rush the kicker stance on a field goal, you can't grab a guy and pull him aside so somebody can follow through and try to block it.
Wow.
They caught Denver doing that. 15-yard penalty. Re-kick. Scott Schrader, game-winning field goal.
No way.
Yeah, 29-26. Heartbreak there. Pittsburgh. Wow, how things changed in 1 week. A week ago today, on the Monday Bonus podcast, Aaron Rodgers coming off that 4-touchdown game. Yesterday, they got clubbed at home by the Seahawks. Sam Darnold, 295 passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 2 sacks. Aaron Rodgers was held at 203. 2 interceptions, 3 more sacks. He looks like he's got cement blocks in his pocket. He just can't move the pocket. But Pittsburgh fan really unhappy losing to the Seahawks. Not that Darnold is playing great, but Darnold got Seattle the victory. Green Bay, what they did to Washington last Thursday. Holy cow. At 4 sacks, 12 hits on Jaden Daniels. Just absolutely stunning as they shelled the Washington Commanders. I told you Detroit was going to be pissed off.
They were.
Detroit 52, Chicago 21. Jared Goff throws for 5 scores, goes off for 334. Lions had 511 yards in offense. Caleb Williams, he looks like Harry High School back there, running for his life all the time. He threw 3 touchdown passes. He took 4 sacks. There's too much freelance football with Caleb Williams, and he keeps getting them in long-distance situations. Doesn't work. Not a lot of people real happy right now with Caleb Williams. So that was a pretty impressive Detroit win. Rams trashed Tennessee 33-19. Matthew Stafford goes for 299, 2 more scores. How about Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua combined for 14 catches yesterday? And the Rams defense, 5 sacks of Cam Ward. He's running for his life. Dallas Cowboys. This was weird. This was wild. 40-37, they beat the New York Giants. Dak went for 361 and a couple of scores. CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson, wide receiver tight end combo, combined to catch 18 passes from Dak Prescott yesterday. And Russell Wilson told reporters on Friday, "This is my job." You know, everybody for a whole week after the Giants' first loss, everybody for the whole week said, this is the end of Russell Wilson. Russell goes out and throws for 450 yesterday. Wow. For the New York Football Giants, although they turned it over right at the end and there was a bad penalty at the end that led to the game-winning kick. Dallas outguns the New York Giants 40-37. Atlanta, Minnesota. Boy, there are a lot of people in the land of 10,000 lakes that are walking around asking questions today in the aftermath of a really poor performance by J.J. McCarthy. The Falcons beat the Vikings, beat them really bad, 22-6. J.J. McCarthy has now had 1 good quarter in 8 quarters of football, and he really looks freaked out by the speed of the game and by the defenses. Atlanta, 3 takeaways of J.J. McCarthy's offense, 2 more picks, 6 sacks. So the Vikings they don't look like the same football team right now, and now there's huge question marks about J.J. McCarthy. So those are some of the marquee games this past weekend around the National Football League. Like I said, big wins and some bad beatings.
Oh, yeah. And, that the Eagles-Chiefs game was the marquee game. I mean, it was a Super Bowl rematch. But, you're saying, is this the end of the era in the AFC? It might be, but, the Chiefs just have too much talent, and they're going to have those receivers eventually coming back. So this, Rashid Rice is out for, 6 weeks? Yes. So, maybe by midway through the season, they'll start ramping up. Maybe they squeak into the playoffs as a wild card. But there was one play in that game that just seems sort of indicative of this changing of the guard in the AFC West, and it was Mahomes was driving in the fourth quarter, to, I think, tie the game, and threw it to Kelsey, who slipped out of his hands and went in the air, and it was intercepted, right at the goal line. Yep. And one of the Eagles guys ran it back like 30 or 40 yards. And I'm like, that normally never happened with Kansas City in the previous 5 or 6 years.
But their problems in Kansas City are deeper than a flub pass off Kelsey's hands, or the accident the first weekend where they ran an illegal pick play and the rookie wide receiver ran head-on into Kelsey and dislocated his shoulder. They can't run the ball worth a lick right now, which means their run blocking substandard, although Josh Simmons at left tackle is really grading out pretty well. But there's a bunch of other people in Kansas City aren't playing well. I just don't think they have enough people around Mahomes. And for all the creative things that Mahomes can do with the football, he can't do it by himself.
No, he tried. I mean, you could see some of his scrambling moves, but I think I'm just saying that there are signs, there are like little signals, that you see here and there that, maybe this isn't going to be another magical Chiefs run. And to your point, yeah, it could be the Chargers or the Raiders leading this division after 2 weeks would be a shocker.
Oh, Sean Payton finds out you just denigrated him on this podcast. But as the host said a week ago, you're over Kansas City.
And then, by the way, that the Falcons, it's nice to see them having some love.
Well, they've upgraded their defense. I mean, they were all over J.J. McCarthy. He was running for his life. He's throwing off the wrong foot, and he's scrambling and throwing into coverage. And then when he gets a guy open, he overguns it.
Well, that was the strategy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted to put pressure on McCarthy. And, he's supposed to be this prodigy. I didn't really think that highly of him coming out of college. I figured he'd be good, but not great. But I guess he had the magical preseason camps 2 years in a row. But I just like seeing the Falcons do well. And it's the fun story about they just get the kicker. And I think he had 5 field goals.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of a neat little story, too. And the Falcons are one of those teams in the NFL that is sort of hidden in a corner. They don't make an appearance very often.
Well, I mean, very good either.
Yeah.
Okay, last topic here before we get to halftime, NFL Notebook.
Yeah, we got some injuries here. A big one in Cincy.
Nice headline, body bag report. This is terrible. This is a byproduct of the ownership of the Cincinnati Bengals. You jerk around your star players. Everything's nickel and dime. You have to wind up paying them anyhow. You don't draft well. You don't play much defense. And now you've lost Joe Burrow for at least 3 months. Immediate surgery, torn ligament, toe, quarterback sacks. Joe Burrow is gone. Minimum 12 weeks. I swear to God, if Paul Brown could come out of the grave, he would fire Mike Brown, who runs the Bengals operation. This is really terrible. They had a backup quarterback, Jake Browning, ex-Washington Husky star, came off the bench, led him on a 15-play, 92-yard drive at the end. But Jake Browning is a lifetime backup guy. He is nowhere to be mentioned in the same sentence and storyline as Joe Burrow. This is devastating in Cincinnati. How about Jamar Chase? 14 catches for $165 yesterday. That was really impressive. So that's a terrible story there. Austin Ekeler, done. Ruptured Achilles tendon. The ex-Washington Commander running back, a second year in a row, major injuries. This is not the same Austin Ekeler that dazzled us for so many years with the San Diego Chargers and for a short period of time with the LA Chargers. That's too bad because he's a self-made, really good football player. I don't like the story out of San Francisco. They are now talking maybe 5 weeks that Brock Purdy's going to be out. He's got the toe and he's got a shoulder. And he's had some elbow problems. And they got so many injuries to all their other skill people. And yet, please tell me how the hell has Kyle Shanahan got this thing to 2-0, but now there's no Brock Purdy. Now, Mac Jones, the backup, came in through for almost 280 yesterday, which was kind of impressive. So maybe Shanahan's fingerprints over Mac Jones going to make him a better quarterback than the Mac Jones who scuffled under Belichick there in New England. And New York Jets, Justin Fields gone. Significant concussion. I saw the video of he took back-to-back wicked hits, and he is out with a severe concussion. He's 3 for 11 throwing the football before he got knocked out of the game. He's just not a complete quarterback, despite these flashes. We saw last year, chunks early in the season played well for the Steelers. And prior to that, there were flashes when he was a Chicago Bear. You saw the great athlete that he was at Ohio State, but there's no consistency. I mean, he was 3 for 11 yesterday, and he just got rocked on back-to-back plays, and now he's gone indefinitely. I mean, it was a really scary concussion hit. And then we talked about Washington. I'll just add this, a late-breaking story. Jaden Daniels now's got a sprained knee. Byproduct of 6 quarterback sacks in the Thursday beating to the Green Bay Packers. So the body bag count with quarterbacks more than anything else in the NFL, pretty significant.
Yeah, body bag for sure. I mean, the Cincinnati thing is like a dumpster fire. It's amazing that they are semi-competitive given all of the problems with that organization. So bummer on Burrow. Austin Ekeler looks like the curse of the Chargers has followed him to the East Coast.
That's too bad. He's such a good guy.
Oh, yeah. You just hate to see that. But, I'll tell you what, the whole Brock Purdy thing. Well, first, let me just say a quick thing on Fields. He had a great week 1, and I was, hopeful for him. Now he had a rough week 2, and he's hurt. I mean, concussion ain't good. But Brock Purdy situation, do you ever get the sense that the 49ers said, okay, he had that great run, a couple of years ago, got us into the Super Bowl, and, it's kind of they were playing with house money because he was Mr. Irrelevant. Then it comes time to his big contract, and now suddenly they have to pay him. I don't know, what do you get, 40, 45, 50? And they're probably thinking he's not really worth that, but it's just the nature of the timing that now we've got to pay that. And then they kind of put themselves out there, and now suddenly they're having Mac Jones as quarterback, which, by the way, every time I hear Mac Jones' name, I think of the recording artist Mac Davis from the 1960s, just kind of in my head. But now they've got Mac Jones, and they're thinking, man, we just kind of burned a lot of that money on Purdy.
Well, but Purdy was really good. The byproduct in San Francisco, they had to move so many guys off the roster because they had salary cap issues.
Yeah,
their offensive line is no longer what it was, and then they got rid of Deebo Samuels, and then Ayuk has been hurt 2 years in a row. They're just not the same team now. Kittle is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no Brock Purdy. It's like McCaffrey against the world.
Yeah,
there's not the same group of players would have been around Brock Purdy, and that's a byproduct of the salary cap era, and injuries have a lot to do with it too.
So Mac Jones won the game against the Saints. And granted, it's the Saints, but they've got their own quarterback issues. But maybe there's a little hope. Maybe this is Brock Purdy version 2. Mac Jones.
Well, that or Shanahan's fingerprints are on Mac Jones, and maybe they've found something to make him a better quarterback because he surely wasn't that. Not in New England. It turned out to be a disaster. He was a high draft pick.
But didn't you get the sense of Jones went to Alabama, right? But he was like great game manager, not uber athlete guy.
Exactly. He had everything around him, like J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. There you go. Hey, we're at halftime. You got opinions about all the topics on the table so far? Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. Bring your A game. Don't be lame. We want to hear what you've got to say. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. John, you pick the topic that you want to talk about with DIXIELINE Lumber.
Pick up a phone, pick up a topic. Our friends at DIXIELINE, have been in San Diego for 100 years, and they kind of play 2 roles here. On one level, like you're seeing here in this video, they really work great with builders, with contractors, whether you're building a custom home or, you're a big-time builder. You're building 200 homes, building a whole new neighborhood. A lot of those are powered with DIXIELINE lumber. But even for the homeowner, if you just want to do replacement of your doors and windows, do a kitchen, bath remodel, maybe you just want to go out and maybe get some tools, that you want to. What's the other thing that DIXIELINE has, by the way, is you do a really good job with a lot of the holiday decorations. And so not only for what's coming for Christmas, but Halloween's just around the corner, and they have a lot of those blow up, those displays that people put in their front yard. So DIXIELINE's got it for homeowners and for builders and contractors. Great people in San Diego. We're happy to have them as a sponsor.
DIXIELINE.com. Just go check it out. See all the things that they've got to bring your way. DIXIELINE Lumber. Hey, just a couple of reminders. You like sports? You need to check my website. I write on it every day of the week. I want you to read the best 15 minutes in sports. It's all written. You got to read my one man's opinion column, My Spin on What Just Transpired at UCLA. That website, I post it late at night. It's there first thing every morning. I guarantee you sample it, you'll get addicted to it. Not like anywhere else in the sports industry. Stop laughing because he didn't believe
addiction.
He didn't believe it, and now he reads it all the time.
It's good.
So listen, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Read it. I think you really will enjoy it. And it's there. It's there every morning for you. I want you to share, subscribe, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. When you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will get the alerts every time we put videos up on the YouTube channel. In addition to the podcast, you'll get access and alerts to all that. Want you to join me on social media. You got opinions. I'd like to hear them. That way, when you join my social media account, I call it Twitter All-Stars, you'll be able to take part in Hacksaw's mini polls. And I do mini polls every night on social media. Just go to Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, hit the follow button there. Give us a thumbs up. Follow us. Give us a 5-star rating. You won't believe how it really helps us grow this podcast. We're ready. Let's go to the second half because we have a few more hot buttons to push.
Yeah, the colors on our shirts kind of work for this next topic. And, man, what an awful situation for UCLA.
An all-time low. They've been playing college football since 1928 at UCLA. They've had some bad years, an odd 2-7-1 season, a 4-8 season. They've not experienced what they're experiencing right now. They were 5-7 last year, and most of them were horrible setbacks. Started this year getting blown out 3 straight games, not competitive, no defense whatsoever. A quarterback running for his life because he had nothing around him. And Deshaun Foster adamant, I'm the right guy for the job. Doesn't have the job anymore. He was removed 24 hours after a horrific loss to New Mexico. Who? New Mexico. The Lobos punched them in the mouth. New Mexico ran for 298 yards at the Rose Bowl against UCLA. This is New Mexico, which most times is found in the gutter face down in college football. I mean, just absolutely stunning. New Mexico had 450 yards in total offense. Anyhow, they fired Deshaun Foster, who finishes at 5-10, outscored 102-43 in 3 games. They've been mocked. Social media has just lost its mind. A week ago, after the horrific beatdown that they took in week 2, a week ago, the most popular social media thing was, we regret to inform you the season ticket holders are entering the transfer portal. This weekend, the social media quote of the weekend, congratulations, UCLA. You are in last place in the Big 12, the Pac-12, and Mountain West Conference simultaneously because they lost to all those teams in their non-conference schedule. It's just terrible. The athletic director, Martin Jarman, used phrases like, we're going to recalibrate. We saw no clear path for this team to rally. I now forever regret this hire. He also double spoke. He said, these decisions to hire Deshaun Foster are not made in a vacuum. Other people had input, but I take the blame. I mean, it's absolutely ugly. And now, one of the hidden factors, they fired Deshaun Foster on Saturday. Deshaun Foster's team is eligible to go into the transfer portal right now. If you fire a coach, there's a 30-day window that opens for all those players on that team to go into the portal.
Uh-oh.
They could lose a whole pile of players in season.
Oh, that could be awful.
And on top of that, 4 of the blue-chip recruits who had verbally committed for 2026 announced on social media they're out. They're not going to come to UCLA. This thing is an absolute disaster. So it really begs the question. Martin Jarman is the athletic director running this athletic program who hired Deshaun Foster in less than 72 hours after the first interview. It was a, quote, I was told by an angry man of Westwood, a backer. It was a hiring of convenience. It was the simplest hire because he was probably the cheapest hire. Hardly any buyout whatsoever.
Well, their budget problems are probably why.
What, $216 million? And by the way, all the money they pissed away over the last hire, a.k.a. Chip Kelly. $216 million athletic department deficit. Can you believe that? Under Martin Jarman's reign.
Well, it's still ugly right now. I mean, they're going to have a hard time spending money on a good coach.
I concur. So the burning question, where do they go? I'll throw some names at you. Do you want a proven head coach who's won other places? Now, this is not a West Coast guy. This guy had great success. LSU, Florida. Talking about Dan Mullen, who was out of coaching last year. He's got Vegas right now. UNLV is 3-0. Connect the dots. New chancellor, UCLA, comes from the Deep South. Athletic department aficionado. Dan Mullen makes sense to me. Deep South guy. Jonathan Smith, fixed Oregon State, went to Michigan State, 3-0 out of the gate. He's from the Los Angeles area, former Beaver quarterback. Would Jonathan Smith leave the Big Ten to come back to UCLA? That's kind of an intriguing name. One of my favorites, because all he's ever done is fix programs. Now, he's at his new job 3 games in, and they're playing really well. Last job, did a great job in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Before that, he was out here. Phenomenal job. His name, Brocco Mendenhall, strike a nerve.
Yeah, that could be a good hire.
He's at Utah State, but he's only been there for 3 games. But that guy was there. He fixed New Mexico, snap of the fingers. Before that, it was at the University of Virginia. Guy's got a good track record. Does he want to come? That's another name to throw out there. Now, former hot assistant coach, he's across the street. Defensive coordinator, Southern Cal. He's done a good job in a year and a half since they stole him from Westwood. Danton Lynn. Would you dare do that, or do you need a head coach with a lot of history behind him? And then there's the wild card. Do they need something sexy? You know, I think about Coach Prime and what Neon Dion brought to Boulder and what he made Colorado football into. Do you need somebody with a name in neon lights? This is far-fetched. John Gruden wants to coach.
Gruden.
Would you dare do that?
Oh, man. The UC Regents would never let that happen.
Oh, I'm just throwing names on the bulletin board. So anyhow, that's where we are. So what's your reaction to the failure of Foster? Is there a bigger failure there led by Martin Jarman, the athletic director? And who do you want to go get?
This is dumpster fire all over the place here. This is just awful. And, you know, I mentioned in a previous show that, you know, UCLA is a very prestigious academic institution. And you can't be having, like, it's one thing to have, like, an off year in football, but this is a disgrace. I mean, how many people showed up at the Rose Bowl game against the Lobos? It was like, what, 10,000 or something? It was barely anybody there. And then, you know, they're faking the numbers, right, on the attendance levels. So everything about this is awful. But if you look, like, kind of bigger picture, football in California is pretty bad. I mean, Cal and Stanford are not doing anything. Nope. I mean, it's every once in a while, Cal or Stanford might be okay. USC has been stumbling and bumbling. They're a little better this year so far. But, you know, the Aztecs are down. I mean, UCLA way down. I mean, West Coast football, thank God for Oregon having a good run here. But, you know, UCLA's got to figure this out. And if they're that deep in debt, who are you going to get? You're not going to get, you know, Mendenhall. If he comes over, he's going to want to be paid. You know, can Mick Cronin coach football? I mean, what are you going to do? I don't know.
You're a UCLA fan, friend, and alum. Jump in here, give us an opinion. This is a terrible hire. Never been a coordinator. Was a limited experienced assistant coach. Fired 9 assistant coaches 9 months after he hired them to be on his first staff. He's imposed all these blackout rules involving. He's pissed off the media, and the alumni are so unhappy. I mean, what a disaster! My column today is about who hired Deshaun Foster, and should there have been another firing in addition to the football coach. Go to my one man's opinion column. I write some really damn good think pieces on my website.
You do. You're not just talking smack. You do.
Okay, that's the UCLA story. Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from that. What a wild weekend in college football on the field.
Yeah, there's some really good games over the weekend.
Let's talk about LSU. LSU just playing unbelievably explosive football. And explosive is the only word I can think to talk about Brian Kelly. I've seen a lot of weird things with coaches at press conferences. If they lose, they get angry. Sometimes they don't play well, but when they get angry, he's historically going to his press conferences, pounds on the table. What the hell are you doing? Hey, Brian Kelly, his defense intercepted 5 passes against the Florida Gators. It was a huge SEC win, and he blew his lid at a reporter who asked about the offense, which got kind of iffy and really struggled. And he started screeching at one of these veteran reporters covering LSU football about stupid question, and you don't know football, and I know football. And he goes off in these tangents and these tirades. Brian Kelly's going to self-destruct. There's a lot of junk going on behind the scenes with Brian Kelly. And he's lost my favor. And he came from Notre Dame. He's lost my favor. But anyhow, that was a hell of a win in the SEC. Georgia outgunned Tennessee. Something like 41-40. What a great game. Gunnar Stockton throws for 304, a couple of touchdowns for Georgia. How about this story? The Tennessee quarterback, Joey Aguilar, he's the kid that was at Appalachian State, transfer to UCLA and was going to be the Bruins star. Deshaun Foster brought him in. And then all of a sudden, Nico Amaliava leaves Tennessee. He shows up at UCLA, and the coach tells Aguilar, you have to leave. So Joey Aguilar, in his showdown with Georgia, goes for 371 and 4 touchdowns.
Deshaun Foster.
And they ask him about, aren't you glad you didn't go to UCLA? And he kind of looked at the reporter for 10 seconds and said, how'd that work out at UCLA? Oh, what a shot. So look at that. Texas A&M. Wow, what a game at Notre Dame. 40-point shootout. Marcus Reed throws for 361 in South Bend. Couple of touchdowns, won the game with 13 seconds to go. What a shocker for Notre Dame. Their defense just could not get off the field. It allowed the Texas Aggie quarterback to throw for 360. Big setback. Notre Dame was 0-2. And they're still ranked in the top 25 based on Catholicism and history. They're 0-2, and they're still ranked. How is that possible? But anyhow, Texas A&M, that's a huge win. That's a really good program that they bought down there at College Station. USC wins in Purdue. Jaden Mayava just continues throwing missiles and touchdown passes. Defense had 3 picks of the Boilermakers. Mayava had 282 through the air. So USC wins on the road. By the way, UCLA, think about this. Once they get through this bye week, they start playing in the Big Ten. They got to play Ohio State, Penn State, Washington, USC, Michigan State. I mean, their schedule go on forward.
Oh, they're going to go over.
Could be. I mean, it's just horrible. So Southern Cal wins. Colorado, I watched this one. This is not good for Coach Prime. He don't have a quarterback at this point, and he had a person plays a look at defense. They let the University of Houston run for 435 on them. So Colorado was really struggling. The media in Boulder's kind of turned on Coach Prime. I think those press conferences are going to get kind of pissy. He doesn't like criticism. They say, you're Colorado. You had Shador for 2 years as your calling card, and you don't have a quarterback. He can't play Juju Lewis, the freshman. He's just way overwhelmed. They're playing a third-string quarterback, and their defense is soft. They're terrible on the defensive side of the football. So year 3, Coach Prime, not working real well. Everything's fine, though, for Bill and the Babe in Chapel Hill.
Hot pants,
North Carolina. Social media. The woman in his life, Jordan Hudson, goes on social media and puts out, I think the correct quote is, "We are on our way." So Carolina's won 2 in a row after their opening season trashing. And they got trampled by TCU. So she writes on social media, "We're on our way." Well, thank God you played Charlotte and Richmond. You're on your way. I swear half the world and everybody in the ACC is lined up to try to take it out on Belichick and the Babe. So some of the big storylines in college football this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, week 1 was a great week, and so there are not as many great games, but, it's just fun having college football on Saturdays,
Sure.
And a lot of these teams, I'm kind of getting to know them a little bit. Notre Dame, you say, is still ranked. It's kind of, we got Pope Leo over there, and so, he's probably pulling some strings because Notre Dame's not too far from Chicago, where the Pope is from. I like watching Coach Prime. I want him to be successful, and it kind of makes me wonder because he's got his own physical issues and health matters, and is there going to be a time where he's just going to throw in the towel because his kids are no longer there? I sometimes wonder about that.
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of erosion of the excitement all around Colorado football. The media is kind of starting to bag on them that you've had 3 years of recruits and this is the product of, they don't play a lick of defense at all. And I agree with you. It's great to have college football back on Saturday. Like, don't freaking bother me. Go clean the garage yourself if you want the garage cleaned.
But, I'll tell you this. The team that I'll follow most closely is our local team, the Aztecs. But they had a bye week, so it kind of felt like I was a little out of sorts.
They didn't win. They didn't lose.
They didn't lose, yeah.
So we'll find out. They get Cal. Cal's playing much better football. So they'll get California at home this coming weekend. So that's all things college football. Feel free. You want to talk about the coaches, players, and we're on our way. Chapel Hill, all is well, according to Bill and the Babe. We go from there. Let's update you on this mess in basketball.
Point shaving scandal.
Yeah, let's talk about the whole NBA situation, the salary cap, and we'll talk about the NCAA situation. New information. The longer this investigation proceeds into Steve Ballmer, L.A. Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, and salary cap circumvention, the deeper it gets. Now we find out, first of all, Kawhi Leonard was given $28 million from a corporation as an endorsement package, which is now being alleged was circumvention of the salary cap. Steve Ballmer says, I did not do that. This was done by the company without my knowledge. Then we found out this past week that the chancellor of the LA Clippers, the number 2 in command, wrote a personal check of $2 million to Kawhi Leonard to make a payment through this company. That
And
looks
Ballmer
like
didn't know?
Ballmer did not know. That's a violation. And now we found out that just before they went bankrupt with this corporation, Ballmer invested another $10 million with the corporation to help pay bills, a.k.a. Leonard, in addition to the $50 million investment initially. So I don't know what's fact or fiction. I'm trying to firmly believe Ballmer had no knowledge whatsoever. Why would he do anything like that to put his own franchise, which he loves, in great jeopardy? But the longer this investigation goes, the more dirt you find under the rug. So we're not done by any stretch of the imagination. The NCAA gambling story, this is deeper. This is more than just a couple of players at Fresno State and San Jose. Now the report is, in the Washington Post, they're investigating 13 players at 5 other schools, including the leading scorer at Arizona State, at Temple, at Eastern Michigan, and the 3 leading scorers at North Carolina A&T.
Wow.
They all bet money, bets about how I'm going to play in a certain segment of time, which triggered an onslaught of bets from the outside. They've just arrested 5 ringleaders around the country that were part of this college scam. I swear to you, John, if it's there, it's everywhere. And the NCAA is the more you squeeze it, the more pus that comes out, and that's what's happening. So I don't think we've heard the ends of the tentacles of how bad this NCAA point-shaving thing is, because now there's 5 schools in addition to what happened to the San Jose State and the Fresno State players. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. So what do you believe or don't you believe with the Clippers and Ballmer?
Well, we're getting conflicting stories from Ballmer, but the thing that just sort of blows me away is, Kawhi is just such a relaxed dude, You never think of him as like a flashy, money-hungry kind of guy. So it makes you wonder, is he aggressively pursuing these deals, or is his agent uncle sort of acting independently? Maybe he gets a commission on it. Obviously he does if he's an agent. I wonder if he's out there hustling for these creative deals and tarnishing the reputation of our guy Kawhi that we love so much.
It's tarnished. I have no doubt about it, because as I said last week on this podcast, you just connect the dots. They asked for all the same things that circumvented the rules in Toronto, and the Raptors said no. And they asked for additional things that circumvented the thing, and the Clippers said no. And then all of a sudden we find out this third party, this corporation, is the one that paid all this money. And by the way, Ballmer's a part owner investor in the corporation, and now his right-hand man's paying money to Kawhi Leonard. This is pretty sleazy.
No habla inglés.
Yeah. Okay, that's all things basketball.
Yeah.
A couple more topics here before we go to Fans Forum. Busy day in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, you got a lot of big names here on the list, starting with the London Five.
Let's talk about the London Five. Those are the 5 hockey players led by Carter Hall, the former starting goaltender of the Philadelphia Flyers. 5 young hockey players are on trial for a gang rape in 2018. The judge found them all not guilty. They were banned for 2 years from playing in the NHL while the court proceedings went on. They've just been reinstated, including Carter Hall, the starting goaltender of the Flyers, reinstated to sign contracts they can play effective on December 1st. So far, nobody has touched any of the players. So that's item one. Second one is Bob Goodenow. That's not a name non-hockey fans would know. He was a legendary head of the NHL Players Association. Players Association was in operation from the 1960s on, led by Alan Eagleson. one of the big power brokers. But Eagleson was in bed with John Ziegler, the president of the NHL at that point in time. And they made deals that helped each other but did not necessarily take care of the players. Well, Eagleson was involved with fraud. He was forced out. In fact, he was given the Order of Canada, which is the greatest civilian thing you could ever get, like a Medal of Honor, and they took it back because of what he did while he was the head of the NHL Players Association, all this fraud. Anyhow, Alan Eagleson left professional sports in disgrace. Goodnow came in. He brought strength and teeth to the NHL Players Association. He just passed away at the age of 72. I don't think he ever got the true consideration he deserved. He's the one that created the idea of the World Cup of Hockey. This was after the Soviet series in the 70s. He created the true World Cup of Hockey. He was a driving force that allowed NHL players to go to the Olympics, and we still have that going forward. He's also the one that was the head of the union when there was a lockout, when the NHL shut down the entire season, one whole year. He was the head of the union. So they wiped out a whole year of the calendar of the National Hockey League. I thought it was going to be the death of the sport. But what they finally negotiated was he negotiated a salary cap, which the owners wanted, but he also negotiated what he wanted, a floor to spending.
That's talking your language.
Yeah. Baseball, pay attention, please.
Right.
And he negotiated players get 54%.
Oh, that's way more than the others.
Gross revenue. It's more than anybody in any of the other sports. So Bob Goodnow did a lot of very influential things, replacing a corrupt Alan Eagleson. So, our O Canada Network fans, they jump on board. The NHL is unbelievably solvent, and these players are making enormous amounts of money, and a lot of that indirectly goes to Bob Goodnow. Third name, Sidney Crosby. We talked about at the end of last week. His name is surfacing as a potential trade candidate. Pittsburgh Penguins are in a massive rebuild. I would say you can't trade Sidney Crosby from Pittsburgh. You can't trade Mario Lemieux when he was a star in Pittsburgh. But hell, they traded Gretzky out of Edmonton, so I guess anything's possible. Sir Sidney dropped hints in Nova Scotia this past weekend before he went to the Penguins camp. He might be willing to waive the no-trade clause in his contract to go home. And home is Montreal Canadiens. So that might happen. And Montreal's got a really young team. Montreal's got a lot of salary cap space. Montreal's got loads of draft picks. This might be win-win to bring Sir Sidney back to Quebec. And the last one, if you're a transplanted, deported East Coaster like I am, you know who this guy is. Legendary New York Rangers goaltender. He's one of the most popular of all time, one of the cornerstones in the 60s and 70s. Eddie Jacquemin has just passed away at the age of 86. All-star goaltender, Stanley Cup goaltender, just a great human being. Of course, his passing comes a week after the Canadian icon Ken Dryden passed away. So a lot of things going on in the NHL because we cover all the sports. John?
I like the Goodnow story. I mean, I like kind of the innovative mind coming and proposing changes to the sport, because a lot of times you get commissioners that are just so conservative, they're just trying to keep the revenue flowing. But I like, in this case, innovators. But his name, Bob Goodenow, I just think of you and Jim Rome. It's like, good night now. I don't know, it's just sort of an inside hacksaw thing. But, it's interesting to see. There's a lot of, drama in the NHL, that goes on, but that's just, part of society these days.
Owners made so much money for so long, and Alan Eagleson was in bed with John Ziegler, the president.
Yeah.
And there was an eruption, and they found all this fraud. And, Eagleson was probably more influential in Canada than the prime minister. And anyhow, he was deposed and he was taken out. And then Ziegler lost his job as a byproduct of the relationship because they were doing deals for themselves. And Goodnow came in and fixed it. And think about what the NHL's become. It's got the hard cap. It's got a floor, which everybody in baseball should be paying attention to. Everybody's making money. And he got the players 54% of the gross revenue. And the gross revenue in the NHL right now is through the roof.
Hell yeah. Well, good for him.
Yeah. He was really, really special. So that's all things hockey. Hockey Hotline is open. You want to join us, Fans Forum. Last topic on the table. Be prepared to get knocked down. Maybe you're going to take an 8 count on this one. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is great. We're talking boxing.
Let's talk boxing. That was a great fighter. Past tense. I think his career is probably over. Canelo Alvarez, who has progressed up into different classifications, wound up losing middleweight title fight to Terence Crawford over the weekend. Crawford was 41-0. Canelo is 62-2-2. He's been a phenomenal fighter. And Mexico has had great fighters for decades upon decades. But I asked the burning question because this fight was like off the radar. Nobody paid any attention to it. I wrote about it on my website. Canelo is just a great, great champion. And he lost to Terence Crawford, who went up in 2 weight classes to fight this guy at the heavier weight, and he tattooed him. It was a unanimous decision. Scorecard was 116-112, 115-113, 115-113. I watched a video. Alvarez had no answer to Terence Crawford's left. He just kept walking in and getting pounded. He hasn't announced his retirement, but in effect, likely his career is over. And Terence Crawford's fought great people, including Mayweather. But I asked, so that was a great fight. I'm disappointed to not get more national recognition. It was not on anybody's radar. And the bigger question I'll pose to boxing fan, is boxing's era over? I mean, if we think boxing, John and I are about the same age group. And we think,
what? No.
Well, I'm better looking. But think about this. When I think boxing, my era, your era, Hearns, Hagler, Sugar Ray.
Oh, yeah, that's the 80s.
Roberto Duran, Julio Cesar Chavez. I mean, there's so many great boxers. And prior to that, maybe your dad's era, my dad's era, Ali, Frazier, Holyfield, Foreman, Tyson. Where is all that? Those 2 eras are 2 of the greatest of all time, and boxing's not on anybody's radar. You people walking down the hallway, are you more into cage fighting? You're more into UFC? You're not in WWE, are you? Hulk Hogan, et cetera, et cetera. So, John, you tell me, how come a great fight like that doesn't get any coverage? And secondly, is boxing over, and why is it over?
No, boxing's not over. I'll just say this as a fan. I've kind of gone in and out of the world of boxing, especially depending on the stars. And I'll tell you what, I love watching old videos of Muhammad Ali. I mean, not only Muhammad Ali in the ring, but Muhammad Ali as
the persona.
The persona, yeah. And some of the, he was so outspoken on so many social issues, and he's clever and funny, and he's got a lot of great things going for Muhammad Ali. He is the champ, the greatest of all time, the GOAT of all GOATs. I'm an American hero, Muhammad Ali. But yeah, it's like the whole, world, the World Wrestling thing really blew up in the 80s, and that kind of, took a little bit of the sheen off of boxing. And then, yeah, with UFC now, boxing is sort of in the shadows. It'll kind of rear its head up a little bit, certainly around the Olympics, and then it kind of goes back to the shadows. But with all these Creed movies, I think it's pumping, some oxygen into boxing as far as fan interest. And I still find myself, like, if I'm just channel surfing and the primary sports like baseball, football, basketball, soccer, hockey are not on, I'll find an old fight, or I'll find some UFC match, some MMA. I don't know what level of fighting it is, but I'll watch that. And it's actually very entertaining. And I can now appreciate boxing for what it is, as a sport, especially the history of boxing in America is really special. But then you understand the nuances of how boxing is different than a cage match and the things that they can do. And then you begin to maybe have a better sense of an understanding of the sport. And boxing, I think, is due for another wave, another kind of rise in interest.
But there's no interest in it nationally. I'm not going to say this is the fault of the Russians, but we had 2 brothers. This is the post-Tyson era. Remember the Klitschko brothers?
Yeah.
From Ukraine? And they were both heavyweights, and they won the title. But they did not fight here in the States, and they didn't speak the language very well, and they went back and fought in Europe. And I just don't think heavyweight class, I don't think boxing's been the same since the Klitschkos took the belts and left. I think it's been a downhill cycle ever since that point in time.
Well, because there haven't been a lot of American boxers. All those names that you mentioned, I think every single one of them was an American, weren't
and
they?
They came through the Olympics for the most part.
Yeah, so, it's gotten more international, just like all the fighting categories and sports versions have gotten more international. But, yeah, I mean, it's like men's tennis. There's not enough American stars. American fans sort of lose a little bit of interest.
Okay. Fans Forum chat box is open. Looking for boxing fans. We've never touched this topic on the table, but we do sports talk the way it should be done. We talk about everything. So the Fans Forum chat box is open. Podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. Regardless of the project in the home or the back patio, in the kitchen, the restrooms, think DIXIELINE Lumber. Go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. Yeah, there's a few people here ready to throw a few haymakers at us, I assume, talking about the baseball pennant races, talking about the NFL, talk about the UCLA mess, and even people going to throw one below the belt, talk a little boxing.
Yeah, there's comments in all of those categories here. But let's start with our friend Matthew. You give us some cash, you go to the top of the line.
That helps us pay the bills.
Yes, it does. And thank you, Matthew. And he says Clippers had a bad attendance last year, and watched the LA Lakers get Luka. Watched OKC win with the player they traded away. Was getting Kawhi and Paul George worse than what Minnesota did to get, what is that, Herbert Walker? And their situation looks like a nightmare.
Well, they've tried hard. So I think you got to give credit to Ballmer. Is that he's spent beyond the cap. And they tried twice. I mean, they tried with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, and then injuries waylaid them. They tried it really hard with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Injuries and impending free agency kind of sabotaged that. So they're in a tougher situation right now. I just have a hard time believing. First of all, the Lakers have always owned the market. I don't care what the Clippers attempted to do. It's a Laker market, even though they have the shiny new building, etc. I just have a hard time believing Ballmer would do anything unethical as it relates to NBA bylaws, because he knows the history of people who have crossed that line and done things illegally. What they did to the Minnesota franchise Timberwolves, what they did to the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Stepien ownership era. So I have a hard time thinking that Ballmer would ever do that. In terms of the new arena, tremendous buzz early. But if your team's beset by injuries, you're not winning, fan support kind of eroded as that season went away. So I'll be intrigued to see. I mean, they're renting every veteran guard they can find. I think it's going to be a good Clipper team. We'll talk more basketball in a couple of weeks as camps open. I think it'll be a good team. It might be the oldest team in the NBA right now. So that bears watching. But you have to argue with me for a long time. John and I argue all the time. Hell, we might as well be married to each other. John and I argue all the time.
We're wearing matching shirts.
Yeah, exactly. We talk about a lot of hot, pointed topics. I just have a tough time believing that Ballmer would intentionally break the rules. That's just not him.
No, Ballmer's a good guy. I mean, but it doesn't make sense, though, that he doesn't know that his number 2 guy was funneling money. I mean, this smells bad, and you hate to see this happen to Ballmer. But this is just all goes back with the whole Clippers curse. I mean, it just never ends. By the way, I used to work for the Clippers back in the 1982-83 season. I sold popcorn up and down the aisles at the sports arena. And we only had to work for the first 3 quarters. And the fourth quarter, we could sit in an open seat and watch the game. And that was great. I mean, I think it was awesome.
Please quit name dropping. You're next going to make everybody believe you're tight with Donald Sterling.
No. But it was just cool, to be in the arena and being paid to be there. I always had this soft spot in my heart for the Clippers, and I want them to be successful. But yeah, LA fan, they always go, the Padres are nothing to the Dodgers, the Clippers are nothing to the Lakers, and the Chargers are nothing to the Rams. Those are all our JV teams.
Okay. Hey, good to have you on board, Matt. I'm sorry, my co-host here just keeps going off on tangent. Now he's dropping names. He's tight. He's tight with Donald Sterling.
Yeah, I don't want to be associated with that guy.
Please don't hold that against me. Go ahead. Next one, John.
Okay, next one. And let's go down the list. Let's go here to Derek. He goes, hey, here's some Canadian rubles to celebrate NHL training camps opening this week. Thanks, guys.
Tip of Molson's Canadian. Well, this dummy drinks Labatt's, but I'm a Molson's Canadian guy. Love the opening of NHL training camps, and there's so many great storylines. This Sidney Crosby story, I'd have a hard time believing that the Penguins would ever trade Sir Sidney, but maybe to Montreal, because that, in essence, would be him going home, be close to Nova Scotia. And Montreal's done everything from a salary cap standpoint to be in that position. And boy, they'd be a great veteran. They got a young Russian player, Demidov, who's just spectacular. And they made the big trade to get Noah Dobson from the New York Islanders, and they got an unbelievable rookie defenseman. What's his name? Houston, who's just arrived last year. They've got some really good players. Crosby obviously would be a real cornerstone there. So we'll see where that goes. That's one story. The other story is the dollars. The dollars. Connor McDavid, final year of his contract. And the story that happened in Minnesota with Kiprasov, turning down $16 million, all-time record, turned it down. And there's a lot of pressure the Minnesota ownership is going to trade Kirill Kiprasov out of Minnesota to somebody that's going to pay him $17 million or $18 million. But this is an all-time record amount of money. So there's so many stories about to bust loose. And because of where I came from, being a hockey guy, we're going to talk hockey here too. Go ahead.
You know, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how does the NHL do training camps? And, you know, like, for example, with the Kings and Ducks, where are they holding their training camp? And do the Ducks, as an example, have a lot of San Diego Gulls, like, intermingled in their training camp? I mean, how does all that work?
Yeah, everybody brings the camp. You're allowed to have 50 players under contract. Now, you open camp, you have unsigned draft picks. You may have some free agent guys on PTO, pro tryouts, contracts. But everybody holds their camp, and they'll play 9 exhibition games. Next year it's going to be reduced because the schedule is going to 84. So they're going to cut back on the number of exhibition games. But, I mean, the Kings trade at what's the name of the facility up in Anaheim? It's brand new. They just opened it just a couple of years ago. The Ducks do. And the Kings have their own facility. And everybody practices, and then you play exhibition games, and then lo and behold, they start in mid-October.
Here we go.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting because basketball camps are getting organized, too, since they're on the similar schedule, including college basketball. So, yeah, a lot going on.
Okay. And we'll continue to cover it. Thanks for being with us, Derek.
Okay, you ready for a shot? Okay, here's one from Hobby. You're a joke. Retire.
Thank you. Thank you for following. I don't know what your beef is, but that's fine. We will present this the way we want to present it, and we have opinions based on all the information, and I guarantee you, you don't get this information anywhere else. So agree or disagree, does not matter, but it's great to have you on board.
I love the fact that you're still going strong, man, you know?
Damn it.
You know, this is what you're doing what you love, and don't stop, you know? BS with this guy, Javi. You know, just keep going. Just live it, breathe it. You're all sports all the time.
Hey, you can reach me through my website. There's an email address on my website. You want to email me with a specific of what you like, what you dislike, that's fine. I can't answer every email, but I do try to answer those who are critical with just a response to tell you why we do what we do and what I think about what we do. So I can't apologize for being bleeping brilliant. I'm sorry. I just can't.
Okay, let's go to Casey. All right, Casey says, hey, good afternoon, guys. Hacksaw, looks like the Mets are blowing the last spot in the NL wildcard race. Who do you think gets that last spot in the NL wildcard spot?
They're in big trouble. And as we alluded to at the onset in the baseball segment, they've used 42 pitchers this season. And I never thought their staff was spectacular to begin with. And here we are, the final 2 weeks of the season, and they're fighting for their lives, and they have 3 rookies in their rotation. One of them is a young pitcher by the name of Tonga, Josh Tonga. He had like a 1.43 ERA, and he got up there. His ERA is like 8.25, and they keep sending him out every 5th day because they have nobody else. They got so many pitchers hurt, and it's too bad. It's interesting because John and I have joked and talked a lot about the batting order and the stars and Soto and all that. Every one of those guys that's making all that money, they're all hitting 260. Every one of them. Now Soto's
260.
Soto's got 40 home runs. I think he's hitting 261 right now. Lindor's hitting 263. Peter Alonso, he's got 40 home runs. I think Alonso's hitting maybe 261, but they're all in that same area. But they have no pitching, none at all.
I just remember as a kid looking on the back of a baseball card to try to assess, you know, I was learning baseball, what's a good batting average? Yeah, 260 just sort of meh, you know, it's not bad, but it's not great, you know. You know, if they bring a lot of defense to the table, if it's Ozzie Smith, like, okay, but Alonso and Soto got to be hitting better than 260, especially Soto. I mean, come on.
My favorite phrase, and I tell this to parents I get down and I do power walking and all that down at the Rancho Bernardo Community Park where they have all the baseball fields and those kids. And everybody comes up and says hi, and you're full of crap.
Hacksaw's here.
Yeah, you're full of crap, or we really like your show, or you loved you on the Chargers. And we talk baseball all the time, and a lot of conversation about the Padres. And, your kid's pitching. I said, yeah. He says, yeah. I said, you need to make him a left-hander. What do you mean he's left-hander? He's a right-hander. Let's make him a left-hander. Why? Well, the best things in life are free, but mediocre left-handed pitcher will get you $24 million a year.
Well, look how long Jamie Moyer hung around.
Forever.
Forever. And that's true. I mean, even like the kid that the Padres have, what's his name? He came from Korea, and he was the Cy Young of Korea. Remember him?
Matsui?
No, not Matsui. No, he's an American that played in Korea, and then he came back. What's his name? But he's like a left-hander, but he's kind of a mediocre pitcher. But you're right. You could just throw a little bit. You'll be around for a while. And even guys like, you remember Matt Strom?
Yeah, he just got a guaranteed contract extension.
Yeah, and he was like kind of sort of good but not great.
He was your ninth man, but he was reliable.
Kind of reliable, steady Eddie. Wasn't real sexy, but now he's with the Phillies, and he's busting it, making bank, and because he's a lefty, you need those guys.
Yep. Best things in life are free, but mediocre left-handed pitcher will get you $24 million a year on a contract.
Or you can just be a tall backup center on an NBA team. That works too.
Tall but white.
Yeah, that all works. Okay, let's go here to Jeff. He goes, hello, Lee and John. He goes, do you think it would be a good idea if the NFL use of football was stripes on field goal attempts? It's very difficult to see the bleeping football.
Yeah, I've always thought about that because they used to use stripes. When the NFL first started, and again, this is the history in me because I was a kid growing up, when they first played night games, and they'd have a football with white stripes so you could see it on black and white TV. Now, this goes way back. I mean, it's like I was 10 years old in the 1950s and 60s. The Old American Football League did it, too. So I'd like to see something different with the design of the ball. But that wouldn't stop everything that's illegal going on with the tush-push right now. So
this is an interesting topic because I know that when I was a kid playing football, if you had the football with the white stripes on it, it was kind of more chunky and fat. But the footballs that didn't have the stripes seemed more elongated, that were like missiles, that you could throw.
You think that's real, or is that just aesthetics?
No, I know. It's sort of aesthetics, just kind of how I noticed how the football felt in my little hand when I was a little kid. But it does make you wonder about why the rules have changed, why the NFL doesn't use the white stripes. And yeah, sometimes it is hard seeing the field goals.
Yep.
But I don't want to have like some neon lit up, hockey puck from the NHL. They tried that for a while.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because the footballs, I think they're not the same college to NFL, are they? They're different. There's some dimensional change.
Speaking of the tush-push, I don't know if you heard this story. It's just kind of leaked out this morning. The Eagles have used the tush-push 15 times so far. They've been offside 13 of the 15 times, and it hasn't been called. They have viewage video along the line of scrimmage just before the snap, and all the Eagle linemen, their helmets are over the line of scrimmage before the ball snapped, and it's not being called.
Yeah, that's like a neutral zone, isn't it?
Yeah, last tense is supposed to be.
Yeah, because I've seen that, especially with defensive players, where they'll be in a three-point stance, and their hands and their feet are behind the ball.
But their helmet's
hanging over the edge. So it always made me wonder, what's the boundary line? Is it the line of scrimmage, or is there a buffer zone?
It's supposed to be where the ball is.
Right.
That's supposed to be...
But those offensive linemen are hanging over the ball.
You go on Google or on Twitter today, on X. I mean, it's a big story. And they got videos of the Eagles just offside, all of their guys.
See, that's the way you can police it, because you can't make it illegal. Like some people want to, but they do need to do it within the rules.
Yep.
And by the way, I saw what you just did. I didn't say anything about the tush push, and then you go, speaking of the tush push.
Well, just because you're talking about changes in the league and the ball and all that.
Yeah, of course. That's all good.
Don't get so defensive.
Okay.
Cheat.
Okay. Let's go to Showtime. Hey, I hope Patrick Surtain isn't hurt long term. I never seen him give up that many plays. Broncos may be in trouble. That was an awful loss.
Yeah, it really was, and they just kind of broke down. I think he got I think it's a minor hamstring, but that was a tough thing. I mean, it was hard to believe the Eagles gave up. I mean, the Broncos gave up as many yards as they did. I mean, Daniel Jones just went crazy throwing the football. And that Denver's had a really good defense since Sean Payton got there, and they had a good defense in week 1. I thought they were going to do the same thing and slow Daniel Jones down in Indianapolis, but, boy, it did not happen. And Bo Nix doesn't look right. They're not running the football at all, and they thought they were, with the draft, et cetera, and the arrival of J.K. Dobbins, that they were going to pound the football. But they maybe Sean Payton's forgotten that there are pages in the playbook that have to do with running plays because they're throwing the football a lot. Nix is throwing it, but he's not throwing it as consistently because they're not running the foot. It's not as balanced as it was before.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't get to see that game, but I saw the score, and I was like, wow, you know, Indianapolis. It's sort of like this resurgence of Daniel Jones. Maybe he's finally getting what he felt he deserved to get, you know?
He's got some people around him. I'm running back. I mean, he's been there a long time. Jonathan Taylor, I think he played at Wisconsin. He's pretty good. And Ty Warren, the kid out of Penn State, he's catching everything they're throwing to him. And they got wide receivers. They got to keep them on the field and keep them healthy. But so far, so good.
So far, so good. Okay, let's keep on trucking here. There's so many comments. And let's go here to let's go here to Michael. And he says, the problem with the Padres is this. When they get pitching, they don't hit. And when they hit, they don't pitch well. They're in trouble. They're inconsistent.
29th in power in the major leagues. Pittsburgh's the worst power hitting team in baseball. The Padres are right there in front of them. That's hard to believe. Are they going to be able to find home run hitting postseason? I don't think so. You know, and I have huge reservations about starters 2, 3, and 4. I know you're going to come back and say, well, Lee, look what Dylan Cease has done. Well, yeah, that's against the Albuquerque Isotopes. Let me see what they're doing against good people. See what happens in his 3-game series in New York against the Mets. Pretty decent, power-laden batting order. I have reservations about the Padres' ability in starters 2, 3, and 4. And they're going to need a lot of base hits since they don't hit the ball out of the yard very often. You know, and I know you're going to come back and say, well, Lee, Machado just did very well. But that was against the Isotopes pitching staff. And Machado, at one point, had 1 home run in 37 games. 1 home run in like 128 at-bats. He's just not the same player right now.
No, he's not. And so he needs this time off. But I think Michael's generally right on target here as far as the trend goes. Because, yeah, they were winning like yesterday's game 7-0.
Then it was 7-6.
Then it was 7-6, and you know, so they you thought they were getting the pitching and the hitting both on the same day, and it turned out that you didn't get either one of them.
But they won. But again, that was the Albuquerque Isotopes.
Okay, all right. You know, here's let's go here to Daniel. This is an interesting comment. Talk about the Dolphins. He goes, "How we doing, gentlemen? It's going to be a long season for the Miami Dolphins, right?"
Yeah, roster's in disarray. They can't stop anybody. They don't run the football very well. Tyreek Hill right now is just there's a lot of personality clash. He's got so much going on off the field. They deny that they're shopping him, but the rumors are that both Kansas City and Pittsburgh have made contact with Miami about the potential. I don't think Mike McDaniel survives this as head coach. I think they probably need a whole house cleaning. A lot of people really upset at Chris Greer, the general manager. A lot of people don't like the owner, Stephen Ross. I mean, so this Dolphins thing does not look good at all. And he might be the first guy to get axed. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't get even to midseason if this losing continues.
Well, you were saying, I think, in the Best 15 that Tyreek Hill has been a subject to some trade rumors.
Yeah.
It's like some teams are interested to see if the Dolphins will deal him.
Kansas City desperately needs something to be a catalyst.
Yeah.
But he's got an $11 million deal. I don't know how many clubs can take on an $11 million contract. And he's got all that junk off the field, his lawsuits and his baby mamas, and there's a lot of problems with Tyreek Hill. Past tense, great player. Current tense, not much of a person.
Yeah, he's a head case, no doubt about it. Okay, here's some interesting. Here's a couple of these. I want to get a few of them in from Blind Squirrel Sports, talking a lot of UCLA Bruins. If UCLA is looking for a coach on the rise who can bring in dynamic offense, the Bruins should hire Buster Faulkner.
I don't know who that is.
Well, let me go through here. He had a couple of comments. He said, but they better move quickly if they're interested in the Georgia Tech offensive coordinator. Okay. So I don't know if that's who that is. And then he said, oh, my God, this was Derek, $216 million in debt. How do you hire anyone?
Well, it's a big issue. Their opinion is that's the reason they went to the Big Ten, because they're going to get $50 to $60 million per year for athletics from the Big Ten media contracts. But, I mean, they're in such a financial hole, and nobody's going to the games. I mean, the erosion of season tickets is just absolutely amazing.
That's mismanagement. I mean, I get it. You know, the Pac-12, they weren't making as much money. They want to get more money in the Big Ten. But you can't be that big in a deficit, especially as a public school. I mean, because who's making up that deficit? It's students paying more for tuition, or it's coming out of taxpayers' pockets.
And they're paying at one point. They're paying off 3 different coaches.
Plus all the guys that Deshaun Foster fired.
Yep, the nine assistants that he axed 9 months into the job. I asked the question, read my column. You may not agree with everything I say or write, but read my column if you're a UCLA fan and spread it around. It's on my One Man's Opinion column on the website, leehacksawhamilton.com. How does Martin Jarmond keep his job as athletic director?
Oh, yeah. He's got some questions to answer. Yep. Here's one from David. Sorry, Dave, meant to get this in earlier. He goes, hey, do I need to get a background check to buy a chainsaw, a DIXIELINE for my Halloween costume? Go Dodgers and go Padres versus the Mets.
So everybody, this is funny. I've told John this before. You know, a lot of people know me for a whole wide variety of reasons because I'm on TV.
Do you know who I am?
No, I don't say that. I'm on KUSI every Saturday. I do a big sports package commentary. I piss people off on TV, too, like I do on this podcast. But a lot of people, you know, remember our following and what we did for the Chargers for all those years I was in the NFL, what I did in sports talk radio. I mean, I did sports talk in this market for 28 years. Nobody's ever done that before. So I go lots of places, and people recognize me, and they come up. And the guy stopped me at the airport last night while I was trying to get my luggage, and he started talking sports. And they like what we do. But one guy came up and said, I know who you are. I can't remember your name. I know it was an older gentleman. I know who you are. He says, you're Dr. DIXIELINE. I said, no, it's Hacksaw. Yeah, DIXIELINE Lumber sponsors our body. Call me Dr. DIXIELINE.
Oh, that means the advertising is paying off, or, you know, DIXIELINE's getting value for it. And by the way, you know, they do sell chainsaws at DIXIELINE, but just don't roll in with a hockey mask or something, you know. You know, you'll probably be all right. They'll take care of you. Go Dodgers, go Padres versus the Mets.
David, thanks for being with us.
Okay, let's go here to Coffee Mug. It says, hey, USC is not much better, you know, than UCLA.
Well, I think there's a big credibility gap right now. Lincoln Riley has to fill. Now, maybe Maeva is the quarterback, so I'll lead them back to national prominence. You know, they're still not ranked very high, and they're going on the road. They won the game at Purdue, and they have to play a bunch more in the Big Ten. And let's just see what kind of statement they make. But they're not as bad off as UCLA. Social media has just been ungodly about UCLA. I mean, what I read last night when I got home and what I read this morning about, congratulations, you're the worst team in last place in 3 different conferences at the same time. Never ever happened in the history of college football.
Well, in every category, social media is ungodly, right? Okay, let's go here to our friend Greg. Hey, Lee, can you help me understand why MLB teams are playing games out of their division late in September? They need to play their division games more.
Well, they've had a tough time balancing what they should and should not do and where the games should be planted. You know, historically, they'd sure like to have the Dodgers and the Padres playing at the end of the season, but that didn't happen. Now they got the Yankees and Red Sox playing again, but neither one of them is the top team in the division. So teams change. It's just never the same from year to year. I mean, who could ever thought Milwaukee would be the best team in baseball? Who could ever thought Toronto would own their division? So you'd like to think, yeah, we want the sexy teams to play each other the final week of the season with importance, but what if those teams are devastated by injuries, Greg? Therefore, you can't play. So tough balancing aspect.
Can does MLB still use this like old guy and his wife that does the schedule?
But they push the button for the computer now. Yes.
Okay, but I remember I was saying they used to do it by hand. Yeah. I remember I had to do our Little League schedule one year. It was very difficult.
Oh, sure.
You know, and you got all these exceptions to the rule, but now they've switched to this, you know, balanced schedule, so it's not lopsided, you know, NL West games as an example. So I'd imagine it'd be hard to configure it that way, even if you tried.
Well, you've got travel. You've got the union that now has input because there has to be days off. But yet we still have teams that play 13 days in a row. And with one stretch, the Padres, I think, played 29 games in 30 days, that's a terrible grind.
Oh, it is. But you know what's interesting is there are no shared stadiums for football, baseball any longer, right? That makes one thing easier for the schedule makers.
Yeah. But when you're playing balanced schedule, it means you're going east and you're playing these guys are coming out here. It's a lot more than it was before. But I like balanced. I like the balanced schedule. I like to see the Orioles or the Red Sox or these other teams you normally would not see. I did not like having 17 games against the Diamondbacks or the Giants and the Dodgers because they're in a bloody division.
Well, we have the Vetter Cup, so we always have that. Okay,
that carries zero importance on my radar.
Did you see when they had Eddie Vedder showed up in the
did
booth?
An interview,
and he didn't even know that it was a thing on social media until much later
because the media has tried to make it a thing. Not a thing.
It was a clever idea when it was sort of a secret thing that no one. It was like a joke, like a running joke in Padres Twitter.
Now, if you want to bet everybody gets a case of Pacifico beer or a case of Olympia beer, Rainier beer, then maybe there'd be some more importance to that.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, let's keep going. And here's a new guy, Lil C. White. He goes, hello, good afternoon. What do you believe the Bengals do at quarterback? Trade for Shedeur Sanders or Malik Willis, or give Brady a call to maybe come out of retirement?
Now, there's one rumor out there that there might have been conversation with Kirk Cousins, but if you know Mike Brown, the penny pincher owner, he's not going to take on that contract. I don't think Atlanta's going to pay more than they're already paying for Kirk Cousins, and they want Kirk Cousins as insurance policy for Michael Penix. Ryan Tannehill is out there. He's available probably at a price that's a vested veteran. But they're going with Jake Browning because Browning has been there for a long period, and Browning is productive. Browning threw for a ton of yards after Joe Burrow got hurt. And I don't know how many games you win with Jake Browning, but he led him on a 15-play, 92-yard drive at the end of the game to finally win that thing. But they're in big trouble because this is a byproduct of a cheap organization, a roster that has not really been constructed very well. Historically, they don't draft and do well with offensive linemen or defensive linemen. So this is a disaster. And you consider Joe Burrow has now had 5 major injuries in his career, and that's all a byproduct of the Bengals' organizational failure to put proper protection people around him.
Well, if you're going to call Brady to come out of retirement, you should call Boomer Esiason, at least him. Didn't Ken Anderson pass away recently, or is he still alive?
I'm trying to think. That's a good question.
I thought I saw something about Ken.
I think he did pass away. I would say within the last 6 months.
Something like that.
Well, he goes back a long time. That goes back to the Paul Brown era, way back.
Well, I remember that was the first 49ers Super Bowl, Super Bowl 16. Mm-hmm. But then, there's always Chris Collinsworth. Do you like Collinsworth?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Yeah, 2 of the best broadcasters I ever met both came out of Cincinnati. I got to know Bob Trumpy really well, and I like Chris a great deal. He's glib, a little different approach, which is great. We don't need to analyze every X and O's. He's got every angle covered, and he's got a persona to him. I think, very classy guy.
Better than Les Nessman? WKRP in Cincinnati?
I thought turkeys could fly.
I know. Okay. Can we get a few social medias in here?
Let's do this quickly before we run out of time.
Yeah, because there's some Raider talk in here because we got the big Monday night game. And, okay, here's one of them. And this is from Cancer S1. And, is this still a rivalry? The Chargers-Raiders. Rivalry means they were giving one another competition. Both have been a joke since the franchise merged to the NFL. Only chip they won was in the AFL. They became a failed franchise. San Diego Clippers, Chargers are trash. Raider gang or don't bang.
Well, at the end of the day, though, what's your composite record over the last 18 years, 20 years? It's pretty bloody bad. I mean, you're living in the heyday of Al Davis, but that heyday was a long, long time ago. I wrote a column. I got skewered for it by Raider fans, but the scoreboard does not lie. I mean, the Raiders are like almost 100 games under 500 since the final days of Al Davis into the Mark Davis era. That's pretty bad, bloody football. Of course, you would know you're wearing silver and bleak and you're drunk all the time, but that's...
Do you remember the Raiders had the greatest Monday Night Football record of all time?
Yeah.
It was just sort of a weird little stat.
Once upon a time, Al Davis was a guru in terms of player personnel acquisition. He went and got guys everywhere. He recruited great players from black schools when that was not being done very often.
Yeah, good for Al.
And he also went to prison and got the Warren Wells of the world, and they turned out to be great football players too. But after a while, the game changed, and he never changed with it. And by the end of his era, they were terrible in player personnel, and they were horrifically in trouble financially because they were not a modern-day business operation. I don't know that they still are under Mark Davis, but at least he's given the football operation keys to Brady and to Spytek and to Pete Carroll, and those guys have great credibility.
Yeah, it seems like they kind of finally have their act together.
Yes.
So and there's one more Raider comment here. Hey, talking about you and your prediction for the game, he goes, Clown doesn't know how good the Raider team actually is.
Scoreboard does not lie. We'll find out tomorrow morning after the Chargers beat the Raiders. There's no doubt. I mean, Geno Smith is explosive. Genty is just a tremendous young talent. And they do have great tight ends and one pretty good young wide receiver. Don't like their offensive line. And their back seven has just been shredded by free agency and some injuries. Love their defensive front. I don't think you have a 53-man roster that's going to be able to last and play the 17-game schedule. So you can say whatever you want about Hacksaw. But at the end of the day, your product hasn't been very good until you win, until you get to the playoffs. I don't know that you have a lot to stand on.
Raider Nation is loyal to a fault. I mean, they're with their team. Don't matter. I don't care about the old record, how we've done since the year 2000. We're Raider Nation. We're proud. We're going to go out there. We're going to dress like Darth Vader or some Batman character.
Well, you're first place in terms of costume and paint. I have no doubt about that.
So, I don't know. I just think it's going to be good. Chargers, Raiders, Monday Night Football. I just remember when they played, when you were announcing the game, and I was a season ticket holder in the 90s, and I was so thrilled as a kid to go to Qualcomm, and I was there for a Monday Night Football game.
Ticket in your left hand, transistor radio in your right hand.
Yeah, to listen to you. That was back on when you were on 690. But it was always special. And, and I remember the Charger fans, some of them would give up and sell their tickets at Raiders. And it was always pandemonium and chaos in the stands.
But the Raiders were still good in that era. When I first got here to be the voice of the Chargers, that was still very representable good football. But it got worse and worse and worse. And all I can tell Raider fan, I don't know if you have a laptop. You probably stole one. But if you have a laptop, just Google Raiders year-by-year records and just start, say, about 2010. Go from 2010 up to where we are now. And see how many winning seasons you've had, which has not been very many. See what your composite record is. Not very good.
You know what? I meant to ask you about this because that was Derek Carr's era, right? Mm-hmm. And he's a good quarterback.
Yeah, he's competitive.
But I saw him, I think it was on the NFL Network,
yes.
And he was breaking down like these plays on the big screen, and he was good.
Yeah, he was yellow magic marker, but it was a little too complicated for the average fan.
No, but you could tell that he knew his stuff, and he had some zingers in there for his co-hosts, and he did. I thought he was fantastic.
I'll tell you, he's a really good guy.
Yeah, he seems that way.
Yeah, married, 7 kids, Christian, had a hell of a career, got beat up really bad with the Raiders. He never got him to the promised land, but that's a byproduct of the failure of the organization. I like Derek Carr, and he went to New Orleans, made them competitive, but just the toll of how many hits he took over the course of his career.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, but nice man. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this game. We got the pennant race this week. We got Monday Night Football. This does not get any better than this. But listen, if you've never sampled my website, please do. I write on it every day. I think you'll really find the volume of information is kind of cool. It's leehacksawhamilton.com. Read my one man's opinion column today. It's quite pointed about the UCLA crisis, but check that website every morning. We're here Mondays at 1:30, Thursdays at 1:30. Share, tell everybody who we are, what we do. Subscribe, then you'll get the alerts every time we put up additional videos on the website. Is it game time yet? I can't wait for Monday Night Football, at least tonight. This will be fun. Justin Herbert, Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh, the Lightning Bolt, and the Silver and Bleak.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. And sample my website, damn it.
Have yourself a great night, John. We'll talk to you come Thursday.
All right, Leela. Take care.
And thank you for being with us. Great to have you a part of this team. Tell your friends to join us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to leehacksawhamilton.com.